As a lover of reality TV, I've been horrified by all of the recent headlines exposing toxic set conditions, like the sleep deprivation and lack of food on the set of Love is Blind, or the alleged racial harassment on the set of Vanderpump Rules. And as someone who works in production, it makes me wonder if that's how the stars are being treated, what's happening to the people behind the camera? So I started looking into it. I reached out to as many people as I could. I asked my friends, who asked their friends, to put the word out. I joined production Facebook groups and followed Instagram pages asking if anyone wanted to talk to me about their experiences working in reality TV. I did this for months, with no bites. Due to fears of employer retaliation or blacklisting, workers didn't want to go on the record. Others didn't want to talk because of the non-disclosure agreements they signed. So I got my hands on a few NDA examples to see exactly what these contracts say. And I mean, looking at the language of some of these, I don't blame people for being cautious about talking to me. This one says if you violate the agreement, it may cause producer irreparable harm, the amount of which may be difficult to ascertain. Okay, dramatic. And this one says you'll owe $1 million. I mean, these NDAs are so vaguely worded to make it sound like they're in place to protect the plots and big reveals of a TV show from getting leaked, but clearly all these NDAs are really doing is protecting companies from the fallout that would come out of workers speaking their truth. And just as I was about to give up on my quest for reality TV tea, I finally made a breakthrough. A few brave reality TV workers came forward to speak and allowed me to record our conversations.
An NDA wouldn't be a problem if there wasn't abuse, but because there is abuse, it is a problem that there are NDAs.
So what are these NDAs hiding? Why was it so hard to find reality TV workers willing to share their experiences? Denise, Tiffany, Allie, and Caitlin all gave me a glimpse into what's actually happening behind the scenes of our favorite TV shows. And what they shared about the industry isn't great.
I think that we are in the dark, dark, dark days of reality TV. I think that things are worse now than they ever have been.
In this video, we're going to unpack how the reality TV industry is specifically designed to exploit workers and what some people are doing to change this.
So my name is Tiffany Welch, and I've been in LA and in the industry for the past 10 years. Some shows I've worked on have been American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance, World of Dance, Catfish, and Conjuring Kesha.
My name's Allie Hirsch. I'm a Los Angeles-based story producer. I work primarily in nonfiction docuseries. I've story produced on Afflicted for Netflix, Secrets of Playboy for A&E, and 3 seasons of We're Here for HBO. A story producer is really specific to reality and documentary television. We basically take the raw footage after it's been shot for a show and weed through all of it and form the narrative before it goes to an editor. So we're writers in a sense, but we're writing more with footage than on paper. It requires a lot of long hours. Editors also work long hours, but they have generally some union representation. They get overtime. We do not.
I'm a union television editor in Unscripted. I'm in MPEG 700, so that's the Editors Guild. Story producers get completely screwed by this because they don't have any protection. It's not uncommon, I feel like, for story producers to be working 15-hour days or 6-7 days a week or both. I can't believe that they work that much with no other compensation.
Let me zoom out for a second. It's important to understand that the reality TV business model is exploitative by design. There are very specific industry standards that have been abused to make it this way. Let's start with the industry term for reality TV. Unscripted, right? That label totally delegitimizes what these workers do, which is often, believe it or not, scripting.
People in reality are not respected as much as in scripted television at all. People don't realize what goes into making this kind of television. It's hard work.
Historically, networks have relied on unscripted programming or reality TV to fill any scheduling gaps that might arise from strikes. And that's because it's cheaper and quicker to produce. And when airing these gap fillers resulted in massive cultural moments and cult followings, execs saw an opportunity. The expectation was and always has been low cost, but high reward. So you can imagine who got the short end of that stick.
Anyone who's a producer or production is considered a weekly.
As in they're paid a flat rate for a week of work.
But what I found more more, especially these last few years, is you just become on call 24/7. There is no overtime factored into that.
Companies are more likely to overwork the producers that are on weekly rates because they don't have to worry about paying for overtime like they would for other workers on daily rates.
There would be no days off.
World of Dance, you talk about a beast of a show. That was my first time titled as a coordinator, and I really wanted to show my worth. That was such a crazy show. I was probably working 18-hour days for that. I just slept at the production office.
And the budgets for reality TV shows are getting smaller and smaller, even for the popular ones. And there are a lot of reasons as to why, but basically the rise of streaming changed everything. Companies started merging, and the economics of it all are a big, big mess.
I was on a show that has been on for multiple seasons, and we basically got our budget halved this last year.
Each production company has a smaller bucket of money to create the same show, and they want the same quality, but a smaller bucket of money to do that. So where are you going to pull from when everything else is costing more? The only place to pull it from is salaries. I was making, I think, $13.50 a week 15 years ago, but I'm seeing rates now for APs even lower than that. And they have more duties.
Especially in the last 5 to 6 years, more and more kept getting put on my plate, but my rate was not increasing.
I was doing the jobs of 5 different people. It was such a traumatic experience. I was so stressed every day. I legitimately thought I might have a heart attack. I was having anxiety attacks every day. I would sit down the line producer. Please listen to me. Everything's falling apart and I am breaking. And they just changed nothing.
Not only are reality TV shows quick and cheap, but they rely on a workforce that's largely freelance. Reality TV production workers go from gig to gig, working short-term, months-long contracts.
You have no power when every job is a contract. If you are in an abusive situation and you walk, there are 50 other people who would step right in. And the production companies, networks, they know that.
We are made to feel and treated often as if we're pretty dispensable. A lot of people are waiting to take your job, especially now that the industry has slowed. Everyone's looking for work.
It's either this or nothing.
I have to be very clear about this. It does not matter how good you are at your job, you are expendable, because there is always someone else who can step in. And they truly do not care if they replace you with someone less talented. They just want to meet the bottom line. They don't care. So there is no job security.
Being able to form any sort of solidarity with the fellow producers that you're working with is very hard. You don't have the time to develop those relationships in your workplace, to talk to other people about what they're experiencing, to say, hey, wouldn't it be great if we got paid time off?
The majority of all reality TV is non-union. In fact, there is no union option for these workers in production. Editors and various crew like camera, sound, makeup, and so on, they all have unions they can join if they choose. But production managers and coordinators, PAs, and every single type of producer cannot join a union. This is because decades ago, the National Labor Relations Board decided that producers have managerial power and cannot have union representation. But the truth is, only some producers are management, most are not. So because of this, producer has become this term to evade any union conversations. Just slap producer in the title and we can't even broach the subject. So just to recap, reality TV is a largely freelance industry where workers are put on weekly rates, where the hours are long, there's rarely time off, and you're doing more work for less pay. There's no union, there's no overtime, the burnout is high, the morale is low, and the job market is more competitive than it's ever been. All of these reasons, on top of NDAs, are why workers were so reluctant to talk to me for this video. The risks are too high. There's too many factors against them when their livelihood is at stake. But there is room for hope.
Everyone here has worked on these shows where they give you these phony titles just so that you think you aren't union eligible. They don't decide if we're union eligible. Let's talk to the union ourselves.
Despite the challenges reality TV workers face in unionizing, some productions have been able to push through. A handful of production companies on the East Coast joined the Writers Guild of America East. Workers on shows like 90 Day Fiancé have health insurance and set rate guidelines. All of these documentaries from Jigsaw Productions are a part of the union. They have contracts in place promising overtime and appropriate rest periods. These are a small number of companies, but it's still a victory in recognizing nonfiction workers as equal counterparts in this industry. The WGA East opening their contracts to nonfiction has proven that unions who are notoriously rule-based and set in their ways can in fact adapt to allow more people representation. And this small wave is starting to grow bigger and build more support. Allie is a part of the Nonfiction Coalition. They're a small group of predominantly producers on the West Coast who are advocating for union representation and spreading awareness about its importance.
But we're just a group of people who wants to feel more secure. We love what we do and we want to be able to keep doing it. We're trying to sort of capitalize on this groundswell of support for unionization and say like, hey, we've kind of been left behind and we deserve what everybody else is getting.
I spoke to plenty of reality TV workers who have had wonderful experiences on set. They're treated with respect and everyone has a great working relationship overall. But this is not the majority. So what can we as reality TV lovers do to help? Well, we can start by supporting the productions that are bargaining right now for union representation. These are places like McGee Media, who produces Finding Your Roots, or BSTV Entertainment, who produces shows like The Kitchen on Food Network. Reality TV or nonfiction content makes up so much of what we as viewers consume on a regular basis, and the workers behind the scenes deserve our support as they fight for their seat at the table. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all of the people I spoke to for this video, both on and off camera. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any ideas for stories you'd like us to cover next, drop them in the comments below.